swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawly Jean.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a late night episode of Fly the W Live. Joining me, the viral Cub fan Jeopardy sensation, Lloyd Sy. Lloyd, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Crawly. Thanks for having me on. I am stoked for this. This is great. These are my people.
Yeah, absolutely. They are your people. If you've been watching Cubs Twitter, they are 100% your people. Lloyd, let's kind of go back a little bit. How did you first become a contestant on Jeopardy?
Yes, there's a several step audition process. First you have to take what's called the anytime test. This is just basically like a little flash game on your browser where they ask you 50 questions and you answer whatever you can. And I did that about 2 summers ago while I was sitting in a Starbucks back in Rockford. And answered that. And then after that, like a week later, they called me in for a first audition. And then once I did that, they called me back for a second audition. And then, after that, it was like, all right, well, we've seen what you're like. And if we want you on the show, we'll call you sometime the next year and a half. So I just kind of forgot about it for a while. And then in November of 2022, I got the call from the producers, which is the call that every person who wants to be on Jeopardy loves to get. And they said, can you come out in like 3 weeks to tape for Jeopardy? And I said, of course. And that's how I went on for the first time. And that was like a year ago. But then they brought me back for a tournament. And that's where we got the Pujols question yesterday.
All right. So you're growing up. Did you watch a lot of Jeopardy growing up? Were you always a big fan of the show? Because I was a big fan. My mom and I would watch it. We'd get all psyched up and see who was smarter. How did you get hooked on Jeopardy?
Yeah, well, it did start really, really early, probably like 2001, 2002. That's when I first started watching. My parents and my grandparents have all been big fans. And, I loved the idea. I loved learning things. I've loved learning things my whole life. When I was in high school, I did Quiz Bowl. And so that's where I learned a lot of the things that helped me on the show. But yeah, always been a big Jeopardy fan.
It's literally like I go back, Alex Trebek days. I mean,
yes,
just phenomenal. But like you said, you first appear on Jeopardy, you win 2 out of the 3 games, you collect more than $50,000 in October. How do you prepare yourself, right? Like I can't even imagine. Like the studio's dark, you got the live audience, and then they do "This is Jeopardy" thing. Like, what are you mentally doing to prepare?
Well, I mean, you're freaking out, it's like, it's nothing can prepare you for that moment when you're up there for your very first game, and it's just such sensory overload in every single way. And my very first game, I was up against a really, really good player, this guy named Ray Lalonde back last year, and he had won 13 games. So, actually this sort of put the pressure off because I was like, there's no way I'm going to win this thing, and I won by the slimmest of margins and got really lucky in certain ways. And then for the second and third games, it was actually kind of nice because I was the only one who had experience up there. I was getting all these new players. So nothing prepares you though. There's like 300 cameras all over the place. And there's a whole studio audience, and at every single moment, you are aware that a camera's on you that's going to broadcast you to an entire national audience.
Absolutely. And when you take a look at this right now, then when did you find out about, you were on 3 times, you won a couple times. When did you find out about this Champions Wildcard competition? And can you tell our listeners what that's all about?
Of course. Yeah. So if anyone any of the listeners have watched Jeopardy in the past, they might know that there's something called the Tournament of Champions at the end of every season. And that they bring back everyone who's won at least 4 games. And I won 2 games before I lost. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to go back for the Tournament of Champions. That's okay. I had a good time on Jeopardy. And I guess I'll never come back here. about 3 or 4 months after I was on the show, I actually got a text from Ray, the guy I beat the first game, telling me that I was going to be back on the show because they had announced publicly that they were expanding the Tournament of Champions to include this new tournament for people who had only won once or twice. And that's called the Champions Wild Card. And that's what we're in right now. And that's the first time I knew we were going to do that. But I didn't hear until like December that they were going to have me on. And they gave me a couple of options as to when I could tape. And so I taped about 3 weeks ago, and the episodes are showing now.
Right. And just to go even crazier with your thing today, there was a whole Taylor Swift themed category.
Yeah.
All the categories were under her song titles. Is that right?
That's right. It was divisive. I loved it. You know, I was like, this is an episode that's now destined to go viral because we have thrown a bone to the most viral fandom in the entire world. But yeah, they had category names like Bad Blood and Our Song. But like, for instance, in the Bad Blood category, everything was about blood in the body, and in the Our Song category, everything was about music. So yeah.
All the Swifties thought that they were going to ace Jeopardy and they were disappointed. But not only did you have the Swifties getting all excited about Jeopardy, but you're there. The category, I believe, is Bald is Beautiful.
Yeah.
And this was the question that was posed to you.
It's beautiful for 1,200, please.
This St. Louis Cardinals great slugged his 700th home run in 2022, his last season in Major League Baseball. Lloyd.
Who is the wretched Albert Pujols?
Wow, yes. The answer is correct. I can't speak to the adjective.
Go Cubs.
So here's what I'm going to tell you, man. You're sitting there and first off, I mean, they got to give a warning, some sort of trigger warning if they're going to put that guy's face on there, right? They're going to tell somebody. But you're sitting there, right, as a Cub fan, and all of a sudden, Albert Pujols' big shiny head comes up. Do you know right away you're like, oh, I got to say something?
Oh, well, it just kind of came out. I don't even think I was intending to do something. I just can't think about Albert Pujols without just like anger and rage seething in me, So I wasn't even really aware that I was going to say that he was wretched until I said he was wretched.
Tell me a little bit about your Cub fandom, because obviously, that hatred, that's a pure Cub fan at heart. Tell me a little bit about your Cub fandom. How did you get into the Cubs? Who was the one that really kind of hooked you, and who was some of your favorite players growing up?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I'd love to talk about this. So I've been a Cubs fan since 2003. A tough year for us, In fact, I think my earliest Cub memory might be that Game 6 of the NLCS that year. I think I was at a Japanese restaurant watching that game and falling in love with the Cubs and seeing this loss. So I started with the Bartman days. And the year after was the year that Derek Lee was almost triple crowning at like the All-Star break, I think. And so Derek Lee was a big one for me. Aramis, and of course those great pitchers we had, Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. A really good memory I have is, I think my very first Cubs game in person was like in the summer of 2006 or 2007. And it was against the Cardinals, actually. And I remember in like the 6th or 7th inning, Pujols comes up to the plate and shoots one that looks like it's destined to go into the bleachers. And Juan Pierre just runs to the center field wall, and everyone thinks it's going out of the park. But he makes the catch at the wall. And I was there in person for that, and that was just a beautiful moment for me. So, I mean, yeah, it goes back to when I was 9-10 years old. Yeah.
That's, just fantastic. I was there in 2003, and unfortunately I was at Game 6 and Game 7. So right now, though, these are some of your fans here. Dubs is saying, here for the best Jeopardy player ever. Danny Rocket says, I'd like to buy you a shot of Malort. Steve Winkler says, congratulations. Kyle with the Jeopardy question of the day here. What is Jed better resign Bellinger?
That's right. Yeah.
And then obviously there's a lot of people proud of you from Rockford. You graduated from Rockford. You are now officially the biggest Rockford Cub fan I know, because you're above DeCipio. Cub fan Jeff says, so awesome. I mean, it is absolutely one of the best things ever. And so right now we're kind of sitting there, and there are people that want to take you to Cubs games. And have you kind of been surprised at the way that Cub fans have been reacting?
I'm not surprised. I'm grateful is what I am. Because before the Cubs fans found me, the Cardinals fans found me. And so like 12 hours ago or so, I was just like, so I'm a professor and I was about to teach my class. And like right before I teach my class, I get all these notifications on Twitter. But it's actually just Cardinals fans just calling me every single nasty name in the book. I think, and this is before most of the Cubs fans find me. But tonight's been great. Tonight I've been receiving so much support, and of course it's the Cubs fans, right?
Yes, and again, I got a feeling that you're right now you're at Yale and English professor.
That's right.
And are you coming home back to home for the summer for a little bit?
Yeah, at least for some time. Yeah.
So you're definitely able to go to and catch some games with some people, right? Because I'm telling you here, I got a list of people lining up here. I literally, before we even got on here, we were talking Bleacher Nation excited, like obvious shirts excited. I mean, these people are just like, I want to go to a game with Lloyd. Are you down to go to some games with some Cub fans?
I'm so down. Yeah, of course.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do, Lloyd. Is I think I'm gonna try to find a Cubs Cardinals game. And hopefully in the summer, and you and I can go to a Cubs Cardinals game on my treat in my seats, and hopefully, we'll have some fun. We'll do a whole little tour here. We got the Club 400 condo that maybe you could stop by and visit. But I think that or maybe we even go to the bleachers. That's what I think. People right now are saying get Lloyd to the bleachers, and we'll try to make a whole day out of it. We'll have my Thai guy out there, Bleacher Jeff. I mean, everybody will be there, just kind of ready to cheer you on. And I think that's the thing, man, is that we were talking, you and I a little bit earlier, is that you did what every Cub fan needs to do, which is to badmouth Albert Pujols on live TV. Well, it wasn't live, it was taped, but to be able to get that out there to the entire world, that you have a special place in our heart. Now, the funny thing is that I saw that this picture of you and Ken Jennings. I told you I had a Ken Jennings story.
Okay.
Our good friend Michael Bowling, who works for Cubs Productions, YouTube, all that stuff, he had a trivia contest where you got to go up against Gary Pressey for Cubs trivia. So there he is, Ken Jennings. They take him up to the booth, and Gary Pressey beats him in Cubs trivia. But on social media night, the legendary social media night, I went up there against Gary Pressey, and I took him on mano a mano, one-on-one. And I was able to beat him. I did not beat him. We tied. They ran out of questions.
Oh, boy. That's great. That's awesome.
So needless to say, now your students, do they know about your Cub fandom at all?
I don't know. I mean, I actually just started teaching them last week, so we haven't had too much opportunity to talk about things. And, and I teach Native American literature and culture. So it's not like the Cubs often come up in that subject. But yeah, I hope to maybe I'll wear a Cubs hat.
Maybe a Cubs hat or maybe a Cubs shirt.
Maybe a Cubs shirt, yeah.
Well, speaking of, your biggest fan is here. We're going to add them to the stage. Please welcome Lloyd's biggest fan, Joe Johnson of Obvious Shirts. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Crawly, doing good. Lloyd, pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure too. It's an honor.
Yeah, we just became Twitter friends like literally 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I remember I missed yesterday's filming, but I remember I watched you like early 2023. I remember you like gave Shannon Sharp a shout out and Nick Wright.
That's right.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool because I do remember watching you like almost, I don't know, what is it?
About a year ago. Yeah.
About a year ago. Yeah. Just thought that was really cool. And on behalf of all, maybe not all, maybe 99% of Cub fans, thank you for representing Cubs fandom like a true champ, and ignore the Cardinals fans. Cardinal fans are going to Cardinals fan. It's very typical of them. I'm not surprised, but I won't be long. I just wanted to come on here and meet you and say hi. I want to offer you, in honor of Albert Pujols' number 5 Cardinals jersey, we're going to give you a $500 gift card and a Ryan Sandberg and Kerry Wood autograph signed 8x10 from us. So if you can give Crawly your info, maybe like after the call, and I'll get it from Crawly. We'll send that out to you first thing in the morning. And I just wanted to say thanks, and you're my hero.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's so generous. Thank you so much.
Well, we said something about you wearing a Cub shirt, and the second Lloyd.
Oh yeah.
Second.
Take it away, Crawly.
The second Joe heard that you were going to be on, he sent me this. And so, Lloyd, this is your very own one of one obvious shirt. For those of you listening on the podcast, it says, "Who is the wretched Albert Pujols, Lloyd?" What do you think?
Yes, we will
Lloyd?
be sending that too.
I love it. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're so no, Lloyd. Thank you.
You are, not all heroes wear capes, Lloyd, and you are our hero right now tonight, man. You have taken over Cubs Twitter, and everybody is so happy to have been a part of this.
Oh well, I'm the happiest. Thank you all so much.
Pleasure, Lloyd.
We definitely want to see you, Lloyd, with a picture of you teaching your class in the shirt. And again, when summer comes around and it's Cubs Cardinals, I think a party in the bleachers. Danny Rockets here. Maybe we'll have the Bleacher Bums band play something. We'll have a lot of fun, Lloyd. We thank you so much for jumping on the Fly the W podcast. And again, on behalf of all Cub fans, the wretched Albert Pujols.
All right, go Cubs.
Everybody, this will be on the podcast. It'll be out on Monday. And thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Lloyd Sy. And yep, go Cubs.